Now, one energy expert believes our power crisis can be solved. Fuslat Bayoglu says the private sector has a major role to play here. He also believes we should look at other countries for some of our resolutions to this problem. Of course, Fuslat joins me now to take this conversation even further. Thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. I think firstly, let's start here. Is the energy crisis we're seeing in this country unique just only to South Africa, or are there other parts of the world going through almost the same?
Look, the world is going through energy crisis everywhere. We have issues. They have issues in every country almost. But the issues of, for instance, Europe and issues of South Africa are different. Because issues of Europe is related to the Ukraine-Russia crisis. They don't have gas, so they are looking at alternatives, and they created their whole energy concept on gas plus renewables, and it collapsed now because the gas is not available readily on the pipeline, so hence they need to get the gas with LNG vessels. But South Africa's problem is different. South Africa's problem is about decision making. So it started in 2008 and no decision was made about new energy capacity. And I think country was misled by the concept of renewables are going to save us. Renewables are not going to provide base load. Our administrators have to make a decision about how are we going to generate base load. Base load means like energy produced 24 hours a day, not 6 hours a day like with solar panels or 5 hours a day with a windmill. So what is the source of our base load? There are three alternatives for that. It's either gas, actually four: oil, coal and nuclear energy. So we don't have gas in South Africa because we're not even thinking about exploration, because NGOs are stopping us to explore our gas potential, especially on the East Coast. And if you look at gas option, we have to bring gas from either Mozambique or with the LNGs, and we don't have the infrastructure, and gas prices are very expensive. And the option of, like, for instance, one of the options is power ships is not a really great option because it's very expensive, and again, we don't have the infrastructure for that, and like a 20 years duration of a contract is extremely long for an emergency contract. The other alternative is nuclear. South Africa is running a nuclear power station successfully in Cape Town. But the issue is the waste is one issue. How do we store the waste? Where do we store the waste? And the second issue is the price of nuclear energy. It's almost 4 times more expensive than a coal-fired power station or gas-fired power station. So we are left with oil and coal. Currently, the whole concept is, okay, now we're going to do renewables. We're going to put solar panels in Northern Cape. We're going to put wind turbines in Eastern Cape and Western Cape, and we're going to solve this problem. It doesn't solve the problem, unfortunately, because a solar panel will give you power for 6.8 hours a day maximum in the world that's in hot as well. Okay, so it's 25% of the day. What about the rest of the day? Well, we need something that's going to give us continuous and consistent power.
I want to then talk about infrastructure and the lack of it. You mentioned it over and over again, how we don't have infrastructure, in South Africa to assist us in moving forward in, getting alternative, energy such as gas, for example. When it comes to construction delays and lack of infrastructure, how much is it setting us back to getting to, a solution or other alternatives to energy?
Look, infrastructure is very important when it comes to gas, because if you don't have a pipeline that's coming to South Africa that's dedicated to power generation, then you need to bring the gas with vessels. And to accept the vessels, to offload them, to put them on a pipeline, to put the gas in a pipeline, it needs infrastructure. So I think from the perspective of the delays that happens due to licensing, due to like financing the infrastructure, it's a bit of a dream to me. But the biggest actually deterrent is the gas price and the availability of gas. If you look at Europe especially, like for instance, Algeria was supplying gas to Spain. And then Spain had an issue with Algeria because they supported Morocco on something. Algeria decided to supply all the gas to Italy. So now what happens to Spain? And what happens to Germany? Because they were getting the gas on the pipeline from Russia. So these, do we want to really put ourselves in a political conundrum by relying on another country, or do we really want to use our own resources?
With that being said, do you think there's lack of political will nonetheless? Because you have also mentioned here, I think in the tweet, that the amount of corruption, the massive corruption, as well as incompetency also informs the crisis that we're in when it comes to energy in this country.
Right. Look, I mean, if you look at social media and news, some people are thinking that Minister Mantashe should make the decision. Some people think no, but ESCOM is not under Minister Mantashe. At the end of the day, we are not interested in personalities. We are interested in power. We've got stage 6, and that's going to stage 8. Let's remove the personalities from the whole thing. What is the decision for this country to be made to make consistent power generation? And I mean, all the time, we hear the stories, excuses, wet coal, sabotage, state capture. I mean, let's forget about these things. State capture was there 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Can we forget about it and make a decision? And what is that decision going to be?
Yeah,
is it going to be, are we going to make power out of gas? Are we going to make power out of nuclear? Are we going to make power out of coal?
That's the question, and I appreciate you, of course, raising these issues with us. Thank you so much, Fuslat Bayokli. That's all the time I had with you. Thank you for joining us right here on the South African Morning. We'll continue, of course, to raise, the alarm on the energy crisis in South Africa right here on eNCA throughout the entire day. And please stick around as we, of course, delve into how to get to a possible urgent solution. But with that being said, here's a look.